Welcome back to The Political Bridge. I'm your host, Ada. Today we're diving into a critical and complex topic. Recent reports suggest that Iran has made threats against current President Trump. This follows a period of heightened tension between the U.S. and Iran. It raises serious questions about how the U.S. should respond. It also brings up the powers of the president in foreign policy. How much authority does the president have to act alone? What role should Congress play in these decisions? We'll explore the balance between swift action and careful consideration. We'll also look at the risks of escalation. Nico and Jordan, thanks for being here to help us understand this vital issue.
Thanks, Ada. When a foreign nation threatens our president, it's a direct attack on American sovereignty. President Trump must have the full authority to protect our nation and its leaders. This isn't just about one person. It's about the office of the presidency and our national security. The U.S. needs to project strength. We must show that such threats will not be tolerated. Waiting for Congress to debate every move can be too slow. Our enemies move quickly. The president needs to respond decisively. History shows that hesitation can be seen as weakness. This only invites more aggression. The president is the commander-in-chief. He has the constitutional power to defend the country. This includes responding to clear threats from hostile regimes like Iran. This is a matter of national defense. It requires a strong, unified response under presidential leadership. The debate over presidential authority in foreign policy is clear here.
Nico, I understand the need for strength, but unchecked presidential power in foreign policy carries huge risks. We've seen how quick, unilateral actions can lead to unintended wars. These wars cost countless lives and trillions of dollars. Congress has the constitutional power to declare war. This is not just a suggestion, it's a vital check on presidential power. When threats emerge, the president should consult with Congress. They should seek their approval before taking military action. This ensures a broader base of support. It also makes sure all options are fully considered. It prevents a single person from making decisions that affect every American family. A rush to judgment can escalate tensions. It can push us into conflicts we don't need. We need a careful, measured approach. It should prioritize diplomacy and international alliances. This is especially true when dealing with complex nations like Iran.
You both raise important points about presidential authority and national security. Nico, you argue for swift, decisive action by President Trump to protect the nation. Jordan, you emphasize the constitutional role of Congress. You also highlight the dangers of unilateral action. My first question for both of you is this. How do we balance the need for a quick response to a direct threat with the constitutional requirement for congressional approval? Where do we draw that line, especially when time might be of the essence?
Ada, the line is drawn by the nature of the threat. If it's an immediate, direct threat to American lives or our president, the commander-in-chief must act. There's no time for a 535-person debate. Congress's role in declaring war is for sustained, large-scale conflicts. It's not for immediate self-defense. The president has inherent authority to protect U.S. personnel and assets. This includes responding to assassination threats. Waiting for Congress could mean losing the element of surprise. It could also mean allowing an attack to happen. We're not talking about invading a country. We're talking about deterrence and protection. The president's job is to keep us safe. Sometimes that means making tough, fast decisions. Congressional consultation is good for long-term strategy, but it's not practical for urgent threats. The current president understands this need for strong action against Iran.
Nico, the idea of an immediate threat is often used to bypass Congress. This creates a dangerous loophole. What one president calls immediate, another might see differently. This opens the door to executive overreach. The Constitution is clear. Congress declares war. This isn't just about formality. It's about ensuring accountability. It ensures that the American people, through their representatives, have a say. We cannot allow a president to define immediate in a way that ignores Congress. Even in urgent situations, there are ways to inform and consult. This can happen quickly. It doesn't have to be a slow, drawn-out debate. We've seen the consequences of presidents acting alone. We need checks and balances. They are there for a reason. They prevent costly mistakes. they protect our democracy. This is especially true when dealing with nations like Iran.
Okay, let's stress test these arguments. Nico, your argument for presidential authority relies heavily on the idea of immediate threat requiring swift action. But you don't fully explain how we prevent this immediate threat justification from becoming a blank check for any presidential action. How do we ensure that Congress isn't simply bypassed whenever a president deems it convenient, without clear, objective criteria? Jordan, you advocate for congressional approval to prevent unilateral action. But you don't fully address the practical challenge of Congress acting quickly enough in a rapidly evolving crisis. How can a large, often divided body like Congress make timely decisions when a threat demands an immediate response?
Ada, the criteria for an immediate threat are not subjective. They are based on intelligence. They are based on clear hostile actions or credible plans against U.S. interests or personnel. This isn't about convenience, it's about necessity. The president isn't acting in a vacuum. He relies on the intelligence community. He relies on military advisors. These are experts who assess the immediacy and severity of the threat. There are legal frameworks like the War Powers Resolution. These frameworks guide presidential actions. They also require reporting to Congress. It's not a blank check. It's about protecting American lives. It's about deterring aggression. The president has a duty to act. He must act when our security is directly challenged. This is especially true when facing threats from a nation like Iran. We cannot afford to wait for a congressional committee to convene.
Ada, I agree that congressional speed can be a challenge, but there are mechanisms for rapid consultation. Congress can be briefed quickly. Leaders from both parties can be brought in. They can give their input. This doesn't mean a full-floor debate for every decision, but it means the president doesn't act alone. It means there's a broader discussion. It means different viewpoints are heard. This leads to better, more thought-out decisions. The cost of a slow Congress is far less than the cost of a president making a catastrophic mistake. History is full of examples where presidents rushed into conflicts. They did so without full congressional backing. These actions led to long, costly wars. We need to learn from those lessons. We must prioritize careful decision-making. We must also prioritize collective wisdom over individual impulse. This is crucial for our approach to Iran.
These are truly difficult questions. Nico, you highlight the need for presidential speed based on intelligence. Jordan, you emphasize the importance of collective wisdom, even if it means a slightly slower process. This tension between speed and deliberation is at the heart of this debate. It shows that there are no easy answers when balancing national security with constitutional checks and balances. Let's move to our closing arguments. I want you both to make your strongest final case. Please incorporate what we've discussed regarding these difficult trade-offs.
We face real threats in the world. Iran's threats against President Trump are a stark reminder of this. Our president must have the power to protect our nation. He must also protect its symbols of leadership. This isn't about starting wars, it's about preventing them through strength. When adversaries see hesitation, they see opportunity. A strong, decisive president deters aggression. It sends a clear message. The U.S. will not be bullied. We will not allow threats to go unanswered. Congress's role is vital for long-term strategy, but for immediate defense, the president must lead. He must do so with the full weight of his office. We cannot tie the hands of our commander-in-chief. Not when our national security is at stake. The debate over presidential war powers is vital, but in moments of crisis, swift action is paramount.
Nico, strength doesn't mean acting alone. True strength comes from a united front. It comes from careful deliberation. It comes from the support of the American people. When a president acts without Congress, it divides our nation. It also weakens our standing on the world stage. We need to be smart, not just tough. We need to use all tools available, including diplomacy. We must also use international alliances. Unilateral military action often creates more problems than it solves. It can lead to endless conflicts. It can also lead to unintended consequences. Congress represents the will of the people. Their involvement ensures accountability. It ensures that we enter conflicts only when absolutely necessary. It ensures we do so with a clear plan. We must uphold our constitutional system. This protects us from rash decisions. It protects us from costly mistakes when dealing with nations like Iran.
Jordan, while constitutional checks are vital, we must also consider the practical implications of a president's ability to act under Article 2. Take the 2020 targeted killing of Qasem Soleimani. This was a decisive action against a high-ranking Iranian military leader, directly responsible for the deaths of American personnel and planning further attacks. President Trump authorized this strike without explicit congressional approval, citing imminent threat. While controversial, the immediate aftermath saw a temporary de-escalation of certain Iranian-backed attacks, demonstrating that a swift, targeted response can at times achieve deterrence where prolonged debate might fail. The intelligence community provided the basis for that decision, and while Congress was informed, the speed of execution was critical. This wasn't an invasion. It was a surgical strike to neutralize a specific, dangerous actor. Relying solely on a slow congressional process for such operations could render them ineffective, jeopardizing American lives and interests abroad.
Nico, the Soleimani strike is precisely why congressional oversight is so crucial, not just for declaring war, but for any significant military action. While the administration cited an imminent threat, the intelligence supporting that claim was heavily debated and never fully declassified to Congress or the public. This lack of transparency undermines trust and prevents a thorough assessment of the action's necessity and long-term consequences. Furthermore, while you mention a temporary de-escalation, the strike also led to retaliatory missile attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq, causing traumatic brain injuries to over 100 American service members. It also pushed Iran closer to developing nuclear capabilities by reducing their compliance with the JCPOA. This example highlights that even surgical strikes can have profound, unintended escalatory effects. Without robust congressional debate and authorization, such actions risk entangling the U.S. in prolonged conflicts based on a president's interpretation of intelligence rather than a collective, informed decision.
And that brings us to the end of another insightful discussion. Nico and Jordan, thank you both for shedding light on such a complex and critical issue. The balance between presidential authority and congressional oversight in foreign policy is a constant challenge. It's one that impacts every American. Your perspectives have helped us understand the nuances. They've also helped us see the vital considerations involved. You can find more information and resources at tpbridgepod.com. Join us next time for another engaging discussion. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and keep bridging those political divides.